Helen with So Kind of Wonderful and Floral Felicity again. Okay, we're still working on our blocks for zone 2, and this video is the step-by-step instructions for sewing the Foxglove block, and it lives right over here in our quilt. And so this is what we're going to be working on in this video. It's a really fun block. It's only, it'll finish at 8 inches wide, and it's really fun to make. We get to make the antler point 3 times, and then we make some C and D twist blocks. The leaves are really fun. They're made out of the A and B shimmer blocks. So let's get started making our Foxglove flower. Today we are working on Foxglove. So this is Helen, and this is the last flower I am making in zone 2. Foxglove block. This one finishes at 8 by 26.5 is the unfinished size. So this is a tall, skinny block, and it has some fun shapes in it. And so when I went to my bag of fabric, this is what I had left, and then my setting pieces. So I have my background, some focus, some stem and leaf fabric. So again, we are looking right here at the pattern page, and here everything is, these main titles are all in blue, so we know that we're using the blue lines on the Wonder Curve ruler. So my first one, petal. This shows petal. I look over here, it tells me petal is the pink. So this is my petal. So let's see what we cut with this fabric. So we are cutting C with this one and C and D here. So I go back to my book, and again, all of this information, how to cut your curves, is pages 6 and 7 in your Floral Felicity book. So for this one, it says I'm cutting a C and a D, and I need them wrong sides together. So one up, one down. And I know C and D is cut with the dashed blue marks. So it's in my V right here, my dashed blue V. Go ahead and cut in your curve cutout. That gives me 2D that are mirrored images and 2C. And I am keeping all 4 of these. So remember to check and make sure that they are wrong sides together or right sides together. And then I have 2 pieces here that are 2 3/4 by 4.5, and I can get 2 C's out of this. Wrong sides together. Again, I'm using the dashed blue marks. Cut in my curve cutout slot. This is my discard, and I'm keeping both of these C's. All right, just working down our cutting list here. Next, we have our center. So center is the red, and this says we are keeping, we need them wrong sides together. We are going to make a C and a D, and again using the dashed blue V, cut in the curve slot. I just love having all of these pieces already cut. That just makes everything so easy. So here I have C and D going both directions, and I'm keeping all 4. Okay, next we have working with our stem fabric. So the stem fabric, I have 1 5x5, and it says to cut right side down, and I am making an F piece. So F is made using the dashed blue again. Cut. It's right side down. I am not saving this, so that goes in the save pile because this could also be a C. And then I have F facing this direction. And then I do have this. This is my stem out of the same fabric, but we're not cutting a curve on it. All right, our next one is, I have 4 pieces here, and my little label tells me I have 2 F and 2 A and B. So when I look at my pattern, it says to cut the A and B first. And for this one, it doesn't matter if it's right side up or right side down. And I know A and B is cut using the solid blue line. So right here, it's all lined up. I cut in my curved slot. And I'm keeping both B's and both A's. And then for this one, I am cutting 2 F, and I need 1 up and 1 down. So that's how it's set up. And F is cut with the point here in the dashed blue V, cut in the curved slot. And I am not using this in Foxglove, so this can be thrown away or put it in your extras. I suggest saving it because we have a few more blocks to make. And now I have my 2 F pieces. Okay, now our backgrounds. So background pieces. I should have some 2 5x5s that I'm going to make an A and a B with. 2 5x5s that are going to be F and C. These are 2 5 3/4 that will be B's. And at this point, you're probably starting to be like, I know what I'm doing. So right here, it gives me a lot of information from our labels, and the steps in the book also tell me what to do. So let's follow the book. The book says to start with 2 5x5s. And I'm making A and B. It doesn't matter if it's right side up or down. Go ahead and cut. I am keeping both A's and both B's. Now, next I am cutting 3 B's. So this is my 2 5 3/4. And to cut a B with this size, I know I cut it in half diagonally first. And I actually know I'm only cutting 3 of these. I'm only going to use 3. But we're just going to go ahead and cut them all, because you never know when you're going to need another one. And then my next step is to line up the right angle on the 5 and 5, and then trim off these dog ears sticking out. Now rotate this. All of this is on pages 6 and 7 in your book. And here I'm lining up the corners on the box corners and cut in my curve cutout. This is discard, so throw that part away. And then I need 3 of these. So I'll put 1 in my save, and then I have 2 more. All right, next we have 2 5x5s. And these need to be, oh, look at that, right side up, 1 right side up and 1 right side down. So check that. And I am processing. Okay, now I'm going to cut an F and a C. So I'm using my dashed blue. And I am keeping both of these and both of these. And then we have 1 more. This is a C, 2 3/4 by 4 1/2. And this is cut right side down. And I need to cut a C. So I'm lining it up in the dashed blue, cut in the curve cutout. This is discard. And then this is the shape that I am saving. Okay, we have all of our curves cut. So you have a few pieces left for when you sew it all together. So set those aside. And we are ready to set up our sets that have curves that we're going to sew together. All right, turn the page. We are on page 32, right here at the top. We're going to set up this just how it shows. We are starting with 2 bee backgrounds. 2 bee backgrounds, and then we need 2 leaves. And the leaves were these. So 2 leaves that are A. Okay, our next set is we have 2 of the leaf B pieces, and the other 2 A backgrounds. So we just have opposite sets there. And you can see right there how it's starting to make a leaf, just how we have it laid out. All right, now we are working with our petal and our center. And we have 1 of each on the D's. And then remember, this is the one you want it to look like a rectangle. So it looks like a rectangle. Excellent. 1 of each of those. And then we have a petal and a petal. And then we put C with our D. No, that is not what we do. Here we are going to put this background. I just naturally wanted to put that that red there. Okay. All right, and then we have our background F. That comes in 2 orientations, so then pick the right center that goes with that. And then I have 2F here. Let me angle my camera just a little. Here I have a leaf and a stem fabric. And then we have our petal, background. Okay, so these are the sets. You should still have, okay, I still have 3 B backgrounds, which is correct because we are making 3 antler point blocks where we cut the curve and add a B. So you should have 3 B backgrounds. Set those aside. Okay, now for sewing, I'm just gonna set this up. You've seen how I do this now, where I just put the smaller piece on top of the larger piece, and then I just stack them. And I know when I get to the sewing machine that those 2 pieces are going to sew together. You can pin at this point, you can use your clips, whatever works for you. Here I have 2 and 2, and I actually just stack them together like that. And then I have 2 and 2. So I'm ready to go to the sewing machine with this stack now. All right, okay. I hope you're getting good at sewing curves. So remember, concave on the bottom, convex on top. So I just dropped one. Okay, for this one, there is a 1/2 inch tail. Sew a few stitches, hold 1 piece in each hand. This is our A and B that we're sewing together here. Okay, when you get done, check. If you have a really long tail, really work on not pulling the concave piece. Okay, so that looks great. All right, so I'm gonna move on and show you. So you're gonna sew all the A's and B's that way. This is the C and D. Remember, it should look like a rectangle when you lay it out. And then for this one, we have a 1/4 inch tail. So here, 1/4 inch tail. The D extends a 1/4 inch past the C. go. That looks nice. We're going to press to the C on this one. And then our opposite mirrored image is going to start like this. Concave stays on the bottom, convex on top. Again, leave a 1/4 inch tail. Again, you'll press to C. So we have quite a few C and D. So those will all get sewn that way. And then we have some C and F. And C and F. Let's make sure we get the right piece together. This one. So for this, we have, for C and F, we have a 1/4 inch on this one. So 1/4 inch right here. The background extends 1/4 inch past C. And then if you're still not comfortable sewing curves, try switching your hands. One of these methods will feel more natural for you. But either way, your main goal is not to pull on the bottom one. And you can tell I do better with my hands the other orientation. And here we will press to C again. And then the opposite direction, we start with a 1/2 inch tail. And this one I didn't end up with much. It's okay. You know, the bias is different and maybe my tail was a little long. It's going to be okay. At this point, you're starting to see that we have made all the blocks just a little oversized. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew all of my curves, just like that. And I'll do some chain sewing there. I went ahead and pressed. So these right here, these CFs, I pressed to the C. And then these I'm going to set aside because I'm going to make another cut onto these 3. Okay, so we're going to use those, but let me show you the rest of the pressing. So on A and B, I press to A unless A is background and B is focus. And then I just press to my focus. And that will keep the leaf looking like it's in front of the background. So kind of think press to focus. And for these, you know, press to your C piece here, because that's your focus. And then these I have press to C, because that's how it naturally wants to go. But C here is background. And I know I don't do anything else with this block. So I went ahead and pressed to D. And then the other direction, I did the same thing. Again, pressing is personal choice. You need to press the way you feel the most comfortable. The only time it really matters is when we're making the antler point block, and then it just minimizes the bulk that we get in this corner here. Okay, so we pressed. We're on step 7. All right, step 7. Step 7 indicates these are the CF that have the asterisk. Yes, making sure I'm doing this right. Yes, we have one like this and 2 this way. Okay, So our first thing, we're going to cut another curve on this one. And this is where we are using this, kind of orienting the C piece here, putting the solid blue V, and then I am positioning that dot on the solid blue line, that blue dot right on the seam again. Let's see. And I think the way I sew, I actually put the edge of the dot. I don't know if that might help you. I actually put the edge of the dot. So we'll see if that works for me today. And then up here, you're looking, make sure you can see that where that C and D come together right at the end of that curved seam, and cut in your curve slot. This is the discard. And then I'm trimming off that little teeny point. You know, one thing to notice is that if I can, I keep my mat turned upside down. This is just a regular cutting mat. It has marks on the other side. This really cleans up all the lines that your brain is processing. So I meant to mention that in the last couple videos. All right, we did one that way. We're going to do two this direction. Do I want more? Do I want less? I think I need less. Okay. All right, so my dot is right there. And then I can see where the C and D come together here. Hold that securely and cut. This is garbage, discard. And we'll do it one more time. And again, if you want to trim off that little teeny, just cleans it up when you're lining up everything. There. Okay, we are ready for sewing. We're going to sew one more piece here. This is where we had 3 B pieces. So all of these are going to get a B piece because it's the same background. This is making that really fun antler point. And for this one, it says 1/4 inch. We are leaving a 1/4 inch tail. So I'm going to sew like this, both of those, and then this one will start with this orientation. So let's go sew 3 curves. All right, 1/4 inch tail, concave on the bottom. Just make sure I lock that focus so it doesn't change. A few stitches. And I'm just watching right at my presser foot. That's when I want those curves to come together. Okay, excellent. We'll do this with all 3 of these. Okay, and then for pressing, I'm going to press to my background here, and that will flatten out this intersection so I don't get too many layers coming together there. Okay, here are the backs, so you can see how the seams are pressed. This is such a fun block to make. And I love that we square it up because all my wonky sewing goes away. And that is our next step in the pattern. We are squaring up. We are on step number 9, square up the units. And first we are squaring up A and B. So I'm going to separate these. We got A and B, and then we have our H point, and then C and F, and then our CDs will square up after we do these. So these are all going to square up to 4 inches. So this is where I can use my Sew Square 4 or my Wonder Curve ruler. So I will show you both. Here is AB. I am squaring it up to 4 inches. I'm using the blue dots on the Wonder Curve ruler. And I'm putting the dots right on the curve seam, making a 4-inch block. Yes, I can get 4 inches, hold it securely, trim 2 sides, lift your ruler, rotate your block, look at trimmed edges, put trimmed edges on 4s, and trim whatever is left. And now we have our perfectly squared up block. Okay, I could also do that using my Sew Square 4. So orient it with the B piece at the top right. If you are left-handed, it'll be top left. And I'm putting the black dot right here on the curved seam. And if you have directional fabric, you have the whole curved seam. Don't forget, you've got the whole seam you can play with. So, you know, adjust your ruler to line up with your directional fabric. Okay, I'm trimming 2 sides, rotate, and trim 2 more. Jenny and I feel like the square up is just as much of a learning process as sewing a curve. And many people think that sewing the curve is where they're learning something new. You are, but squaring up is also a new skill. All right, we're just going to square up all our ABs that way. All right, let's square up one of our H point. This is our antler point. And for this, remember there are 3 points here we're looking at. We're looking at the 2, the point on the black dot, and the point on the curve. The most important is the 2, and then the point, and then the curve over here. So I always start with the 2, let's close our blade, and then the point, and wherever this falls, as long as it's close, I'm happy. And for this one, it's actually very good. You can see I'm point, 2-inch mark, and black dot. And again, trim 2 sides, rotate, and then trim your other 2 sides. All right, we also have the H point with the other orientation, this way. So here, and I always just make sure I can read the words. So I can read So Kind of Wonderful. You know, if you ever pick up your ruler and it's feeling off, check that it's right side up and you can read the words. Okay, start with the 2 on the curved seam here in the middle. And then the point. So I need to adjust my point. Now put my curve back on. This one's really wonky, and this will happen to me, and maybe it doesn't happen to you. This is a good example. Okay, I have my 2 on, my point is down here. This is close enough, but look how awkward and not square to the block it is. So if I want to, I can give up a little bit on this point right here. And that's what I choose to do. I give up a teeny bit of that point, let that sew into the seam allowance, and it gets me a little more square. And my dot's not on right there. That is okay. I know it's going to sew into the seam allowance. It will be fine. Right there. That's what I'm referring to. So for me, this is not that bad. If this is just not going to work for you, you can unsew your B and shift it down a little bit more and see if you can get it, or shift it up and see if you can get it a little more square to the rest of the pieces. This, I'm a heavy hand when I sew. I don't think I'm stretching, but I am. I'm pulling, I'm yanking, I'm pushing, and that's when you can tell, because I get wonky blocks. You might be just like me. All right, that's our H point. Let's look at our CF. All right, C and F. Again, we have this middle seam. That is the most important. Middle seam, and then you just put the black dot on your curve. We only have the 2 points we're looking at, so you can actually adjust, like get up here nice and tight to the top of your block if you need to. I'm actually going to shift it down just a little. What I'm looking at is I'm looking at my fabric. It has a stripe this way, and there's stripes this way, and marks, and that feels good. So now I trim 2 sides, rotate, and trim whatever is left. And nice and square. I find squaring up very satisfying. Hopefully it becomes something you enjoy also, because we do a lot of it. All right, again, mirrored image. So now it has shifted. The 2 is over here. Put the 2 on your mark, and then dot is on the curve seam. Oh, I should show you this one with the, let's do the Wonder Curve ruler. So 2 is here, and then use your blue dot. And then I can tell I need to shift up here and kind of get all of my fabric, the lines on the fabric, lined up with the marks on the ruler. Trim 2 sides, lift your ruler, don't move it other than lift it, rotate your block, put the ruler back down, and look at trimmed edges and put them on the 4s and trim whatever is left. Okay. All right, all of those get squared to 4. All right, we also have some CDs. And C and D, you have 2 that go this direction and 2 go the other way. So I would say separate them so that you're working with the same block and get some muscle memory. This is going to be a 2 1/4 by 4 inches. So again, we're using the 2-inch mark on the seam. The blue dot is on the curve. And I'll also show this one using the 4-inch. So square. Okay, trim 2 sides. Rotate your block. This time, trimmed edges is what you're looking at. Trimmed edges go on the 2 1/4 over here and the 4. The 2 just gave us a place to get our curve in the right spot, and that left seam allowance. Okay, now we trim whatever is left. Okay. All right, let's do that again with our 4-inch sew square. All right, I'm processing. Do I want to use my rotary, my turning mat? I don't know. Let's try it this way. Okay, put the 2 on the seam. Put the black dot on the curve seam. Check you can get 2 1/4 by 4. Yes. Go ahead and trim and trim. Rotate your block. Put trimmed edges. And sometimes I just leave that tail. Just move it so I can see my trimmed edge. Trimmed edges on 2 1/4 and 4. And 4 is going to be the edge of my ruler down here. Oh, you can't even see that. Well, let's get it in frame. There you go. So this is the edge of my ruler down here. Now I trim whatever is left. Okay. All right, let's do the other orientation. Okay, other orientation. First thing, we look at the 2-inch, put it on your curve seam. Put the blue dot on the curve seam. And then I look at my block. Am I square to it? Do the lines kind of match up with my ruler? Shift it a little bit. Okay. Trim 2 sides, rotate your block. Look at trimmed edges. Put trimmed edges on 4 and 2 1/4. And then trim whatever is left. All right, go ahead and finish trimming all of your blocks. I have all my blocks squared up, and it is now time to lay out. Oh, look at that long stem. Okay, this is a long block. All right. I'm going to lay out the block. I'm going to lay it out a little bit sideways so it fits in the camera a little better. And let's see. All right, so for this block, we are laying out, and you just look at your diagram. And so imagine this is the stem. You guys are quilters, you're good at imagining things. And then your pattern actually tells you your sizes you're looking for. So this is a 4x4. And then I know I have these two here that come together. So, oh, I don't think that one's yet. Nope. All right, so we have some of these. Look at this fun. This is such a fun block. Jenny and I loved coming up with this block. And then this one here, and this one here. Aww. And then I have another 4x4. And again, it's just so great. Just pulling out my blocks that are all cut. And you have to be a little spatial when you lay out. You know, I think this is the fun part. I love to do puzzles. I love to quilt. Do those go together? Kind of feels like it. And you can see I'm already running out of room. That's okay. You can see all of these cut. All right, so everything here can sew into a row. So you sew it into a row, and then you sew your rows together. Press your seams open. You do have a couple options here. You can look, some of this fabric is called Hillcrest. It is a teeny bit directional in that you see a stripe, but it's so neutral, you're gonna have things going every direction. I kind of just lay it out and then I say, oh, is there anything really bugging me? Well, this one I can't switch. The stripes are this way. So maybe I should like have that like work into it a little bit. Those go here, they go there. I'm gonna leave that. Okay, that's the only change I did with that one. Because I want like a variety. I want things going every direction. All right, I'm gonna sew rows, press seams open, and then sew rows together. And then sew your stem on. All right, I have sewn rows together, pressed my seams open here all the way, and then I'm going to sew each of these rows together. Press those seams open, and then add my stem. I have my rows sewn together, and I'm doing a little pressing, and I wanted to show you, share that, you know, right here we have a lot going on. There are a lot of layers of fabric and this intersection. So I'm actually using a product called Easy Press Pen. It's an Acorn brand, and oh good, I still have some solution in there. This is not a starch, this is a fabric relaxer. And I don't even know what the product, like what the base of it is, but if you like get this in here and, you know, give it a little bit of like, I'm actually opening that seam. It works kind of like a Tide stain stick where, you know, you press on it, that little filter holds the product. And then when I press, it doesn't add a layer of starch. It just really helps relax the fibers so that they will lay flat. We had somebody on a quilting cruise we were on, Susan, told us about this. And that is just nice and flat now. And then we'll do it up here on this one. Because, you know, I could use starch. I could totally use some best press. That would relax it also. But starch, I feel like, can also shrink a block and distort it. I would rather use, you know, sometimes water is better than starch because I'm not trying to add bulk, and starch will add that layer in there. And I can tell my seam is a little bit skinny here. So, and when you have a lot of layers and you get to that intersection, sometimes it can like fall and not keep sewing where you think it is, but that looks pretty good. But you can see how much that helped relax those fibers. So, and then again, when you're pressing, really try to press and not iron, because pressing will flatten it out and ironing will distort the block. Okay. So all I need to do is sew my stem on this side. I sewed my stem on, and so here I am just pressing it open toward the stem. I'm not pressing the seam open. I'm just pressing that stem out. That would be a lot of layers, and I don't feel like you always have to press open. This actually will give all those seams a nice place to live in our stem. So just like that. All right, and then I'm checking on the back here. Did I flip any seams? Nope, it looks pretty good. My stem is like just a couple fibers longer than my, because, you know, we had a lot of seams there. So I trimmed off a teeny bit so my stem is the right length. I wouldn't say I am that OCD sewer, but I do like to be a consistent 1/4 inch. Like I didn't use, I used one pin when I was sewing this whole thing together. I pinned one of these intersections right here. Oh no, this one. Oh, and it's still off a little bit, but it's good enough for me. So use as many pins as you want. I'm use as few as possible.